Hey there! So a couple of years ago, I experimented with trying to make my own kombucha, but I never really got that into it. Recently though, I realized how much money I was spending on store-bought kombucha, so I decided to give it another try. And of course, I couldn't get into it without understanding just what was going on with this weird fermented tea thing. If you guys haven't seen how kombucha is made before, it looks pretty odd. There's a spongy fungus-looking layer at the top, and then underneath there's a bunch of floating particles and sediment. It's a little weird. Certainly doesn't look like something that you should drink. I knew I wasn't going to learn much just looking at it, so I went to see what the kombucha scientists had to say. Similar to other fermented foods like sourdough, kombucha works because of its symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. In kombucha's case, this culture is nicknamed the Scoby. The bacteria are acidic acid bacteria, which is an aerobic type, meaning it requires oxygen. That's why you can't completely cover the kombucha during its first fermentation. The brewing process can be broken down into two steps, the first fermentation and the second fermentation. The first fermentation involves brewing the tea, adding the Scoby, and letting it sit for 7 to 10 days. The second fermentation involves bottling the now acidic tea with whatever flavor you'd like in an airtight bottle for 1 to 3 days. The first fermentation is responsible for creating the acidic environment, and the second is responsible for the carbonation. To make kombucha, you need 4 basic ingredients: tea, sugar, the Scoby, and starter liquid, which is just a bit of unflavored kombucha from the previous batch. Of course, each of these ingredients serves a purpose. The tea provides polyphenols, tannins, and nitrogen, which are all important in the fermentation. The sugar is generally added as white table sugar, or sucrose, which is converted over time by the yeast and bacteria into glucose and fructose. These are the food sources for the yeast and bacteria, meaning they provide the carbon necessary to grow the Scoby and produce the acids and carbon dioxide. And then the starter liquid provides more microorganisms and also lowers the pH of the overall batch, which inhibits the bad bacteria from growing. The most interesting part of kombucha is definitely the Scoby, so let's look into that one a little bit more. The Scoby is made from what scientists call bacterial cellulose. What's basically happening, and this is a little weird, is the bacteria take the sucrose from the sugar, or glucose or fructose, and then use the carbon in those sugars to, I don't know how to say this, extrude out little strings of nanocellulose from tiny little pores on the bacteria cell wall. This forms long, super thin strings of cellulose called nanocellulose fibrils. These tiny strings bundle together and eventually form a film on the top of the liquid, which is the Scoby. A little gross, but also pretty cool. What's even cooler is all the applications of this nanocellulosic material. Nanocellulose is a pretty interesting substance, and scientists from all different fields use it because of its desirable properties. But now, people are realizing that you can make it via kombucha, and the research is getting pretty neat. People are making clothes from it. They're using it in batteries or to help nerve damage. Researchers are even using it, and I quote, under simulated spaceflight and Martian conditions to see if the microorganisms survive. Now, moving on, you may have heard of some of the supposed health benefits of kombucha. Commonly, it's said to be anti-inflammatory and an antioxidant. It's also touted as an elixir to reduce cholesterol, blood pressure, cancer propagation, and improve liver function, the immune system, and gastrointestinal functions. As you can imagine, I've read a lot about kombucha in the past few weeks. From what I've read, it's pretty agreed upon by scientists in the field that while there are some studies that point to the health benefits of kombucha, there are 0 recent controlled studies on human subjects. So we should get on that. Health benefits or not, I'll still be drinking kombucha and making it. In my next video, I'll go over the steps for making kombucha. I'd go over it now, but I haven't quite mastered the carbonation. Oh my God! Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. By the way, I actually dried out some of the Scoby to see what the material was like that people were using to make clothes and such, and it's pretty cool. It's flexible but sturdy, and I can definitely see applications in footwear or accessories. Not sure if I'd want it up against my body though.